This is A Deeper Listen, the show we talk with musicians about the thoughts and experiences that shape their music. And today, we're speaking with the jazz saxophonist Kamasi Washington. He's out with a new album called Fearless Movement. KEXP's Dusty Henry spoke with him to learn more about the album, embracing ideas of dance into his music, and welcoming collaborators ranging from rappers to his 3-year-old daughter.
Saxophonist Kamasi Washington is a generational jazz talent. In the past decade, he has helped bridge the gap between hip-hop, jazz, and electronic music for new legions of fans. He's appeared on Kendrick Lamar's instant classic, To Pimp a Butterfly, and has worked with artists ranging from Flying Lotus to St. Vincent and Run the Jewels.
But I guess I'd say I'll see you soon. I see you soon. But the truth is that I see you now. I see you now.
In 2015, he introduced himself to the world with his sprawling 3-hour-long debut album, The Epic. On his latest record, Fearless Movement, he continues pushing himself into uncharted territory. Billed as his dance record, the album finds him reversing the playbook and bringing guests from other genres onto his record. There's features from BJ the Chicago Kid, George Clinton and D-Smoke, and fellow jazz wonderkin Terrace Martin. At an hour and a half, it's actually Washington's shortest album to date. I was able to catch up with Washington to learn more about his vision to make an album you could dance to, how his 3-year-old daughter informed and co-wrote some of the music, and what it means to be a fearlessly creative artist. Yeah, I've been loving your new album, Fearless Movement. Can you tell me a little bit about where that title came from?
You know, I was kind of imagining and really kind of projecting an idea of people dancing to this music, you know, and so that's kind of where that movement part of the title comes in. And then, you know, in my life, coming into this album, this idea of moving forward and progressing and you know, evolving and allowing yourself to be brave enough to change is where the fearless part came in. So like Fearless Movement.
Yeah, I'm curious about both of those aspects of it. And you talk about being a dance record. I remember seeing you when you played in Seattle in like 2015, I think, around the Epic. And one of my takeaways on the show was how you got everybody dancing. And I'm curious, like, how did you want to translate, like, what did that idea of like dance mean to you? Like, how did you go about trying to translate that into the music to incite that sort of like reaction?
My aunt's a dancer. And so I kind of grew up with this idea of highly expressive, pretty avant-garde jazz being a type of music that could inspire dance, you know, along with, you know, playing a lot of other styles of music and just kind of feeling that energy of when people kind of release themselves to that. And so, you know, as we were recording this music, I would just kind of imagine different types of dance, you know, and different scenarios. You know, something I would kind of explain to the musicians, and it just kind of informs the way we're playing, you know. It's just like, it's a subconscious thing that, like, you know, you say that to a musician and then all of a sudden, you know what I mean, they start hearing the music in a certain kind of way, you know.
And on sort of the way you're talking about with the fearless part of it too, like, you know, I feel like genres and names of music are inherently difficult, but for music that we'd say was called jazz, I feel like there's been historically this inherent like resistance to stagnation. Like if you look at the works of like John and Alice Coltrane or Sun Ra or Miles Davis, you see a clear evolution from their early records to their later records. And, 20 plus years into your career and this new sound you're exploring, a fearless movement, I'm curious what you think about that idea of like resisting stagnation and what directions you feel pulled into.
Yeah, I feel like it's really important as a creator of music to move as the music is kind of flowing, And I feel like music kind of is a very energetic art form, and there's an energy to music, and it's not stagnant. It's always moving, and it's always changing, and to have that spirit of kind of willingness to let the music kind of go where it wants to go is an important part. I think that most of the people of the music that we love, it kind of comes from that energy of not being afraid to do something that you haven't done before, not being resistant to what feels right,
Another big shift that creatively and personally, you became a father recently, and I know there's a big fatherhood is a big inspiration on this record, and you appear on the cover with your daughter on the album. And I have a 2.5-year-old daughter myself, and it's kind of amazing all the cliches everyone always tells you, like it's going to change everything, your perspective's going to change, and then it does. And so I was just curious here about that, you've mentioned this representing a shift for your life, and you think about your role as just a person in this world. Like, how has fatherhood changed or shaped your perspective as an artist?
Yeah, and completely, because it changed my identity, before I saw myself kind of firstly as a musician, and music was always the first thing. Music was always the most important aspect of my life, here on earth at least. And all of a sudden, it's pushed back, and that was scary for me. I was resistant to that idea. Initially, before she was born, it was like I had this overwhelming feeling that I wanted to shift and have that her be the kind of focus of my life, and to have her well-being then become the focal point of who I am, and being her father is now my identity rather than being a musician. In that, musicians, we kind of have this, the music has to come first ideology, and you start to worry that somehow you'll lose something, somehow that you'll not be the same as you were, But ironically, when I kind of committed to this idea of no, I'm shifting my life at this point, and now she's the most important thing, my connection to music actually got stronger, even though I had less time to spend on it, and it was kind of reduced in my hierarchy. It increased my connection to music.
Yeah, definitely. I think of another artist here in Seattle, Makoyo Ali Barnes. He talked about to us once about when he had a kid feeling like, oh, I wish I could be in the studio doing work, and his dad telling him, this is the work, this is the inspiration.
Yeah, and now I'm writing music and she's there, and I did some work recently for Shinichiro Watanabe, and I was listening back to some of the kind of demo recordings of me, as I was writing some of these songs, and I can hear her in the background singing and dancing and playing and stuff. And I was just, it used to be creating music for me was a very solitary kind of thing I did. I did clear out the room, I'll be by myself, and all of a sudden now it's kind of being made in a different energy, and some of my best music I think actually is coming out of it.
Yeah, definitely. That's something I wanted to ask too, about just this idea of letting our children into our creative processes and to being creative with them. And your daughter wrote the melody for Asha the First. Can you talk a little bit about how that happened and how you took her piano melody and morphed it into this song?
Yeah. I mean, she's super musical, and she really loves playing music, and so it was an interesting moment. It was like the moment that she realized that she could control what she was playing. So it was like the first time she played something kind of intentionally, and so she played that melody, that da 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 da. She just kept playing it over and over again. I was like, oh wow, it's like your first little melody. So I recorded it, and then I added the rest of the bits and pieces. But it was, it's beautiful because for kids everything is new, So for her, the revelation that like you can control the sound of an instrument. She wasn't even 2 years old, or maybe she had just turned 2 or something like that. It's like these moments, they kind of re-energize me. I think, like kind of experiencing them again from the outside.
Yeah, and just like the free creativity of a child, and also, to be honest, the energy, like the cover where she's running around you on the albums, it epitomizes fatherhood to me really well. But I'm so amazed by that, like this freedom they have.
Yeah, and it's like there's no right way to do things, Like we had an idea for the cover, and she didn't want to do that. But ironically enough, her idea ended up being better, And music is like that a lot of the times. Sometimes you have an idea, but then, kind of like the universe, music, God, whatever you want to say, like there's a better idea there, and you have to kind of like give into that, And kids are good at that,
When I saw you in 2015, you had actually brought out your father, Ricky Washington, on stage to perform. I was curious, like, did you have similar experiences with him with music growing up?
Probably, I was so young,
Yeah.
Probably just like her. I mean, she may not remember all these things, but like I don't really remember. Music has always kind of been there for me. Yeah, I mean, it was a very similar situation where I had a lot of musical instruments around, and books and albums, and my dad kind of did a similar thing to what I'm doing, where he kind of let me explore myself, more than he was trying to like tell me what to do with music. He would more like help me when I needed help, and other than that, kind of let me find my own way, And I'm appreciative of that, because I feel like music is such a personal journey. So yeah, I think it's pretty similar.
Collaboration is not something new to you, like by the nature of your music and work. You're always performing with the band, writing with other artists. You've performed and played with artists like Kendrick, Lamar, Flying Lotus, Herbie Hancock, St. Vincent, Lauryn Hill, so many others. And you have featured vocalists on other works like The Epic, but Fearless Movement does feel different when you're including artists like D-Smoke, BJ's Chicago Kid, George Clinton. I guess, how did you approach collaboration differently with this album?
I mean, it's pretty different. I mean, several of the songs on this album, their kind of point of origin were other people. Like, Brian Porter was the original composer of Together, and then I wrote lyrics, and BJ Chicago Kid helped as well. Brandon Coleman wrote Interstellar Peace. Ronald Boone Jr., was the initial composer for Get Lit. When the get good, get about to get better, get gone, get lit. And so I opened the door to, I guess, more of a heavy-handed integration of people's creative ideas. Whereas in the past, my past records, those were all more songs that I had written that I was giving people space to interpret. On this record, I'm playing a lot more of other people's music with, me kind of implying the vision that I had for the album to those songs, but opening the door for them to be the composers with a different approach for this record.
And yeah, like, you've worked with so much like hip hop rap artists on their records. Like, what was it like to bring rappers into your own music?
Oh, it was good. It was fun. I mean, I really love Raj and Taj, from Coast Contra. They have such a classic but innovative approach, and they're just so, dope. and, and they're so open musically. So it was really fun to have them on Asha the First.
Heaven's in the kid, hell don't exist. Inhale, exhale for the male, female, themselves to exist. Mind your tongue for what's to come. Death may have fell from your lips. Speak life for the health benefit. And whoever else benefit. The youth, they soak our vibes up. Our frequency must rise up.
D Smoke is another one of my favorites, and he's just, he's so musical and so, he was adding harmonies and all kinds of stuff,
Body recital is vital, I go rehearse with her. Make that incision, I play nurse with her. Deep dive in the waters, maybe quench my thirst with her. And then get started on our first litter. Wait, here I come.
All three of them, I should say, are very kind of progressive. They weren't thrown off by the denseness of the music that I was asking them to rap to.
Another collaboration I loved is the song Dream State with Andre 3000, his record last year was one of my favorites as well. And I think I look at both of you as like sort of like fearless explorers and venturing into new sounds and ideas. Obviously, he's been going on his own journey. Can you tell me about getting connected with him and writing that song?
Yeah, I actually I met Andre 3000 while he actually had me record some stuff for him. And after we finished recording, he's like, "Hey man, if you ever need me for anything, let me know." And I was like, "Well, we actually working on the album right now." So yeah, when he came to the studio, we had a few songs kind of already prepared for him. But he brought this arsenal of instruments, and every time he was showing us the sounds of all these different instruments he had, and every time he picked one up, he'd play something so cool. At some point, myself and Brandon Coleman were like, let's just create something right now. And so we kind of just, once again, like kind of lived in the moment and skipped over those songs that we had already written before and just created something in that moment, because he was going to take us somewhere different. And that's exactly what happened. He started playing and we started flowing with him, and it turned into something really cool, something pretty different from everything else on the album.
I was curious to ask about, scope with your records. The Epic was 3 hours long, Heaven and Earth was 2.5, and when I saw the runtime, like hour and a half for Fearless Movement, I kind of thought, oh, this is pretty short. And I know with Epic you considered editing it down, but ultimately chose to kind of, allow it to give the space that you felt it deserved. Like, I was curious, how do you think about scope? Is it something you think about anymore, or is it just how it manifests the way it needs to be?
I use a lot of intuition when it comes to that, and it's kind of inexplicable, but you can just kind of feel when the album is done, And then with this album, even though it's, half the length of the Epic, it just felt just as full at that time. It felt complete at 80 some odd minutes. Whereas the Epic, it felt like it needed those other elements. I was telling a longer story,
This is maybe a cringy question, but I don't know. Well, we gotta ask it. We'll see. But I love the song Interstellar Peace, The Last Dance. Is that a Last Dance play on words, or is that?
Yeah, I mean, I joke around that, Brandon Coleman wrote that song, and I joke around that, he wrote it to catch the eye of NASA. But really, I mean, he and I are both like fans of this idea of space and the kind of infinite universe. And that song is meant to be like our own technological means of exploring, which is that, like, you can close your eyes and play music or listen to music and be transported anywhere, and that's the idea of interstellar peace. It's like the peace that you get in doing something like that. We were trying to create another musical wormhole as it is.
It's amazing how much that imagery, that cosmic universe vastness, comes up, because it's just like the perfect metaphor for creative searching, I guess.
Yeah, same kind of thing. It's like there's so many options, there's so many possibilities. There's no need to get too hung up on one of them. It's something that's been a through line in my kind of philosophy of life, and the idea as you kind of peer out into space, you see, like, it's beautiful, all the different possibilities, and the idea of kind of exploring all of them is such a beautiful one.
I'm curious, having gone through the process of making this record and going the direction you did with it, is there any new direction you're feeling pulled into now?
Yeah, I mean, this music is already, it's not the youngest kid. Like I said, I wrote some music after this for Shinichiro Watanabe's new series coming out called Lazarus, and that's probably the latest music that I have written, and probably, I would say, it's some of my favorite music that I've written. Hasn't come out yet, obviously, but so that's kind of on the way. And then I have a ballet that I've been working on for a number of years that's musically almost finished now. Yeah, and new songs that we haven't played yet that are, kind of sitting in my little musical notebook waiting to get their chance.
Totally. I can't wait to hear all that.
Yeah.
And one question we ask everybody, what's an artist or song or music you're really resonating with right now? Like, any recommendations?
Yeah, I mean, I've been listening to Kenny Garrett's new album, Who Killed AI. I'm loving that. I'm loving Willow Smith's new album.
It's like a snake shedding skin, creating life to begin, and all you knew has vanished again, transcending virtue and sin. Fix my eyes on all the things where beauty is a symptom of life. Gotta decide if I'm gonna see it right. Feast our eyes on all the things when suffering is craving the light. Gotta decide how we're gonna heal it right.
And while we were on tour, a lot of guys in my band were playing me their new records that haven't been released yet either. Like Miles Mosley has a new record that he's working on right now, or that's really finished. He's just looking for how he's gonna share it with the world, but it's amazing. And Brandon Coleman as well, and Ryan Porter. So I've been listening to a lot of music that is on the coming soon list.
You're living in the future.
Yeah, I'm living in the future, totally. Like, it was so good. I was like, man, you got to send that to me. I won't share it with nobody.
I love it. Well, awesome. Thank you so much, Kamasi. I really appreciate it. And thank you for this wonderful record and all the amazing music you've put out over the years.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And that was Dusty Henry speaking with Kamasi Washington. This piece was produced by me, Emily Fox, and A Deeper Listen's theme music is Song for the Passing by Shelf Nunny. And there it is. The theme music cueing me to tell you to please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast, and remind you that KEXP is a publicly funded radio station. We rely on listener support to do what we do, just like A Deeper Listen. You can help financially support A Deeper Listen by donating $6 a month at kexp.org/deeper. And thanks for taking a deeper listen.